So in my last video, which is really cool, by the way, if any of you seen my last video, I want to thank you for liking it and subscribing and commenting. That's really cool. I did get a comment in there that I want to address, and it was a really interesting point that I've actually thought of as well. I do believe that Khamzat, and I know we've only seen a few fights of his so far, but that doesn't mean that he's not capable of doing these things that I'm going to bring up just because he's only had 4 fights in the UFC. Because fights are won up here, and obviously through repetition and experience and confidence. And there's a certain amount of ego, of competitiveness, because you don't want someone to beat you. You know, I'm a very competitive person with everything, but so I understand what goes along with having confidence in something and knowing you can dominate something that you're good at. And I think Khamzat has that more than anybody, and he's backed it up. But what the comment said is that Khamzat would beat Khabib. And I know that's a bold statement, right? That's a super bold statement. But I'm going to have to agree with that. I thought of that as well before. I just think he's more aggressive. I think he possesses the same skills. And I think he's lived a harder life where it's forced him to be who he is now. And, you know, as far as I've seen, Khabib's been raised in a pretty structured, non-life-threatening environment, and Khamzat was not. Now, growing up in a life-threatening environment may not seem like it could condition your mind, condition your body to be able to just overcome anything. But I think that's exactly what's happening in this case. You know, he's talked about he grew up in a country where war was going on. You know, they had constant fear of their life. Army constantly banging on the door and going up and down the streets, you know, taking people out. Acts of terrorism and murder is just an everyday thing. It's something that most of us Americans, unless we're in the military, can't even fathom and have never even come anywhere close to experiencing other than just watching it on TV. So I think that he came from a different environment. I think we saw a new kind of animal with Khabib. And I say animal in a good savage way. But I think Khamzat's a different kind of savage animal than Khabib. And I do think that Khamzat would beat him. I don't know if we'll ever find out. They're both Muslim and they call each other brother and stuff like that. I know they had that little beef, but I think that they squashed that and figured out that that was more like, it was more Khamzat being a little manipulated by a journalist, his words being a little thrown out of proportion, thrown out of context. And I think that it was more just like a media troll trying to stir stuff up, more than an actual beef between how the two truly felt. So I don't know if we will ever see that. I mean, Khabib is retired, so I mean, why would we see it? He's retired, and why would he come back to fight somebody who's completely just smashing everybody more than Khabib ever smashed anybody? Khabib smashed the crap out of everyone that faced him. But Khamzat is smashing the crap out of everybody that's facing him even more and more flawlessly. If this was a Mortal Kombat game and you chose Khamzat and he did in the game what he's doing in real life, you'd hear that guy's voice and you would see the title perfect on top of the screen. You know what I mean? Like every single one of his fights, perfect. That's Khamzat. And he's so so aggressive. Khabib kind of like tries to figure you out. Where are you going to come in from? I'm going to find the right time. Khamzat don't do that. You've heard the commentators use the phrase throwing caution to the wind, which means putting yourself in danger to try to knock out your opponent or dominate your opponent in some way. Khamzat is in no danger when he does this. He's just that dominant. So I do think Khamzat runs through everyone. I think he's going to probably retire unless something unnatural happens, like a sickness or a car accident or something like that. I think it's going to take something like that to stop Khamzat. It's not going to be opponents in the ring. He's that much of a savage. I think he will continue to just run through the division with flawless victories. I don't think he's going to see real opposition unless he fights Kamaru. But you guys know how I feel about that if you've seen my previous videos. If you have not, check out my previous 2 videos and you will see my thoughts on that. In a nutshell, I think Kamaru Usman will retire before he fights Khamzat, and I think that's probably a good idea. Anyway, if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Tell me in the comments down below what you think about Khamzat Chimaev. He's absolutely my favorite UFC fighter right now. I am totally on the hype train, and it's not a hype train. It's a real train. So subscribe, comment below, and ring the bell.